Violence and conflict is terrible for the people directly affected by it. Violence and conflict is also a major obstacle to achieving social and economic development all over the world. It is very difficult to make progress on education, or on healthcare, on finding jobs, reducing poverty, increasing income, or providing basic services such as water, when a country or a region is affected by violence and conflict. Recently, the World Bank published its 2011 World Development Report on security, conflict and development. That report highlights that conflict and violence are typically not accidents, but they're the result of underlying weaknesses, long-lasting weaknesses in the institutions of a country. And therefore, solutions to address the problems of violence and conflict need to address these underlying, long-lasting institutional weaknesses. The international community has to do better. We as the World Bank want to do better to help countries that are suffering from conflict and violence overcome those conditions. First, we want to work in very close partnership with others, with other agencies, including the United Nations, and in partnership with the countries affected, to strengthen the global alliance to help partners and to help countries overcome violence and conflict. Working together with partners, others who have experience and comparative advantage in areas of security and justice where we have less to contribute, bring that together with our own experience in many countries around the world on economic development, social development and basic services. We also want to use our unique business model that is focused on working with and through the permanent institutions of a country to make a difference. That business model that in the long term strengthens the institutions of a country because we are working with them and through them is uniquely suited to build a stronger institutional environment for development. But we also have to adjust this business model for the situation of conflict and violence where these institutions are often extremely weak, where it is often necessary to accept the risks, where it is often necessary to balance the important results of providing jobs, providing services and social outcomes in a conflict situation with the risks that projects may not get implemented as easily, or with other risks, operational risks that we encounter in the course of doing business in those countries. But we, the World Bank, are very strongly committed to doing better and making our strongest effort to help our countries, our partner countries who are affected by violence and conflict, and to learn from the lessons of the World Development Report 2011.
So we distilled this WDR into 4 basic concepts. One of them is that violence is often recurrent. The other lesson is that successful transitions require inclusive enough coalition. The third is also that successful transitions require institutions that are able to deliver 3 things simultaneously, and that is security, justice, and jobs and economic development. The fourth is that partnerships are, of course, very key to this. The World Bank Group and all the partners within the institution, as well as partners outside the institution, set about crafting a WDR operationalization strategy. And that, of course, had 6 broad themes which were to inform and to guide the bank's reform agenda in its intervention in fragile and conflict-affected situations for the coming period. Those 6 themes broadly are as follows. One is the need to inject more of a fragility context into our CAS's country assistance strategies and into our interim strategy notes in these situations. The second theme is really the focus on partnerships. And of course, partnerships are very important. They have always been very important for the World Bank. They need to be part of a bigger storyline, if you will, a bigger engagement that tackles security, justice, and jobs and economic development. The third theme relates to a very important issue, and that is private sector development and jobs. Clearly, the private sector is an important and sustainable driver to growth and stability. The fourth theme involves the issue of risks and results, which is, of course, a contentious but a critical part of how we engage and how we measure our engagement in fragile and conflict-affected situations. The fifth issue relates to reducing financing volatility, and this relates to the way we finance our work in these situations. Last but not least is the theme of the bank pursuing a sense of excellence in the way it provides services in fragile and conflict-affected situations, in having staff in the field. The key here is we need to be more present in the field. This is, of course, a multivariate problem, one that we have to tackle in so many ways, ranging from HR policies to compensation mechanism to incentives for promotion, for recruitment, and we are tackling it as such. Decentralization is also a very important part of it, and the Nairobi Hub and the Global Center of Excellence will be providing support on both the operational and policy side, and even on the knowledge side to various country teams, not only in Africa but throughout the regions of the bank. And Director for Fragility and Conflict is based there.
We really want to try to change the way we do business. And the idea behind creating the Global Center was to shift some of our support closer to the ground, closer to country teams, for quick dispersing advice, support, even surge capacity when it's necessary for teams working on the ground. So by moving outside of Washington, moving to Nairobi, bringing a core staff of committed, experienced people who worked on fragile and conflict-affected states, we can begin to help the smaller country offices, those in need of additional capacity. The other thing we want to do is create a place, both physically and virtually, to really bring people together who work on fragile and conflict-affected states. It's very isolating for many people who work in these countries. It's isolating physically, isolating geographically, often isolated from their families. So our thinking in creating the Nairobi Hub is a place that you can go physically when you visit us, but also virtually through our use of social networking and other sites that will really bring people together to share their experiences. Not just for us to tell the world what the World Bank is doing, but for all the partners who are working in these states to really have a platform to exchange ideas and information.
So we're moving in all these fronts. It's not going to be an easy task. This is a broad and a very profound paradigm shift. It will take time, it will take resources, and it will take energy, but it is certainly worth it.